almost finished now. It's kind of funny how much time you spend on it. And it's called a puff pillow, but the puffing doesn't happen until right at the end. Of course, I was almost finished with this and ready to do the puffing. And then, of course, always is the way with me. When I'm almost finished, I start 10 new projects. Is it the same for you? Let me know in the comments. Okay, so you've done your pillowcase, done the binding, and then here's the back of the pillow. So now I'm just going to turn it inside out so that the inside is out. Okay, just popping the corners out so it can lay nice and flat. Okay, that's looking pretty neat considering it's the back. It's looking pretty nice. Not too bad, really. That's looking pretty nice and tidy. All right, so now comes the kind of exciting bit. So what happens, I'll show you in the middle one here. And this bit you have to be really careful about. You want to only cut the back of the fabric. Of course, you don't want to cut your puff puff. So I would suggest putting your hand underneath, inside, so you can grab the other fabric and pull it apart. I'll just show you that. I'm pulling the puffy fabric as I'm pulling this one to make sure that you're not going to cut the front of your puff puff. All right, so I've got that pinched. I'm going to give it a little snip. And then I'm just going to cut a little bit in a straight line, not too much, enough so you can get your wadding, whatever you're going to stuff it with, in there. Just do a little bit more. All right, now the stuffing, whatever you have that you usually use for stuffing, you can use proper wadding, and this is from the inside of a cheap pillow that I've got. I'm also going to use up my leftover batting. These are just two smaller pieces. Sometimes I put my batting together and sew them together to use, but these are just really small pieces. And I'm also going to use some fabric scraps. I keep all my scraps no matter how small, and I even keep bits of thread. I know, I try to be have as little waste as possible. So what I'm going to do on this one is I'm going to take the really soft stuff, soft puffy stuffing, and put that in there. And you can do that any way you like. Sometimes I have a bit of I have a stick, a chopstick that I use to push it through as well. So just put that in, and I'm going to make sure the corners are nicely stuffed. And usually you're surprised at how much stuffing something can actually take. It is quite a lot. All right, so that's pretty good. I'm just going to put some, and you can even have a look on the other side and see how it's going. Ooh, that's looking nice, nice and stuffed. So now then you decide about how much stuffing you want, if you want it really firm or just a kind of soft puff. But here's where I'm going to put my fabric scraps. So I'm just going to get a bunch of scraps, and I'm going to put that in because I want it to be a little bit firmer on the bottom of it and really soft and squishy on the top part of it. So let me just put a little bit more in the middle there, because I'm thinking of it being a pillowcase rather than a seat cushion or something like that. So I wanted to kind of sit up a little bit firmer. So I'm going to just put some fabric scraps at the bottom of it, on this end of it, and have the soft squishy stuff on the front. That way I save on stuffing. I get to use my fabric scraps. I'm actually thinking of doing, so I'm a teacher. I'm teaching kindergarten at the moment, and we're doing a unit called Sharing the Planet. And I'm thinking about using these scraps with glue on like paper bowls, and then just putting a whole bunch of glue on it and seeing how that works. So I'll keep you posted. All right, so that's working out nicely. I do like using my scraps like this. All right, so I didn't really have to cut much of an opening at all. Just put that aside. Let's judge the puffiness factor. Puffiness factor. Okay, ooh. And I like how it's nice and squishy on the front, but there's a firmness to it. It's not going to completely sink in, and I quite like that. I like that, that's nice. That's nicely puffed, not too much. It's not stretching around or anything. It's looking pretty good. Nice. I might take a little bit out. I might take a touch out. That's it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same to all of them. I've seen it also being done to get the rip with a seam ripper. Gosh, I forgot the word just then. Let's try it, but remember always to separate. You can put your hand through there to separate. Remember always to separate. I've got that now. And then just poke that through. Ooh, wow, that was easy. Oh, I like that. Okay, so that was a little bit easier than with the cutting actually, with the scissors. I like that. All right, so I think I might use this one. That's a little bit scary how fast it goes. I feel like I've got a bit more control with the scissors. All right, so I'm gonna stuff each one, and then all we have to do is sew up the back, and then decide, do you want to put a piece of batting on top to make it like a cushion cover, or you're just gonna put a pillow insert in. But I'm leaning towards pillow, because I think it would be really cute to have a puff pillow. So that's it. I'm going to puff each one. That's looking nice, nice and puffy. So see you soon. Okay, so I've stuffed all those puffs. They're nicely packed. I found it easiest to stuff the soft stuffing into the corners first, then in here, and then in the middle, and then I put the fabric scraps last to give it a bit of firmness. And it's not too heavy. I quite like that it's a little bit firmer than just putting the stuffing in. It's still turned inside out, but you can see the nice little puffs there. And you can always check to see, is that puffy enough, or do you need to put some more stuffing in? But I think now I'm just going to sew these up. And it doesn't have to be beautiful stitching or anything. I'm just going to do a quick whip stitch, I think it's called, or ladder stitch along. And I think with each one, I'm going to put a little bit more stuffing in before I sew it, because the stuffing will settle and you don't want to have droopy puffs. You want them to be nice and puffy. So I am going to just put a little bit more in each one before I sew them up, but make sure that they stay relatively the same and consistent. All right, see you soon. All right, so I've sewn up all those holes there. As you can see, it doesn't have to be beautiful stitches. No one's going to see it unless your friends are going to look on the inside of your pillows. So now you have some options, and I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do yet, but you can put on just a bit of batting and then hand sew it on along the side. So you just cut a square the same size of batting, and put that on and then sew it. You can hand sew it around, or you can also make a pillow insert. I'll just show you how mine looks now. The big reveal. I'm quite happy about it. I think I thought I was gonna put a pillow insert in, but I'm not sure. I'm kind of going back and forth. If you have an idea, please let me know in the comments. Yeah, so here it is. Beautiful. I love it very much. It's nice and puffy. And I like that the fabric scraps give it a bit of a firmness. So if you were to sit on it, I think the fabric scraps really help it from not depuffing, I guess is the word. So yeah, I'm really happy with it. Next time I might not do the hand sewing, I might do it on the machine, but I quite enjoyed hand sewing the little squares, but then machine sewing the rows together. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's this way around with the birdies. And I used up a lot of scraps, so that was nice. So yeah, pretty pleased with how this turned out. Let me know what you think.